Welcome to the Stories That Sparkle oh boy, it's one of those days. Welcome to the Stories That Sparkle podcast. I'm Hella Rader. Whew. And in today's episode, I sit down with Libby. We actually recorded this whole conversation outside in a park. So yeah, you'll hear all about that. And she's an amazing woman. She was a real rock for me, to me, around me, underneath me during the 4 years I lived in Santa Fe between 2010 and 2014. And she just has always been such a light in my life and a real inspiration to me that it truly is never too late to go after your dream. It's also not always too early, but definitely never too late. So go ahead and go do it. And I don't know about y'all, but I certainly need to hear that, not just that day when we had this conversation, but pretty much every day. Yeah, that's just how that rolls. Anyway, Libby is a total hoot. She's super wise, but really she's a lot of fun. And conversation is a total treat. It was a real pleasure for me. I cannot believe we got to do this. This is so exciting for me. So I invite you to get comfortable, sit back, and listen in. I'm Hella Rader. With a good sense of humor, an open heart, and an open mind, I love to explore the very human complexities in others and in myself. That's why I created a space for women you have never heard of and could easily pass on the street to share in their own voices the intricacies of starting over in life, building community, inhabiting their bodies, and more. Welcome to our Discoball, the stories that sparkle. Oh, hi, Libby.
Hi.
This is so fun.
Yeah, it is.
We're in Rose Park here in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
In the shade.
In the shade. It's delightful.
Yeah.
Because we were just having coffee at Downtown Subscription.
It's where all the cool old people go to have coffee.
That's where it's happening. It's all happening at the Downtown Subscription. And we were just chatting, and then I said, okay, well, do you still want to record? And you're like, yeah. And then I said, okay, do you want to go to your house? And then you were like, actually, let's go to Rose Park. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. It's all mobile.
Thank God for that, because I'll tell you what, I live in a little tiny house by choice, 400 square feet. I love it. I love being there. I don't love being there all the time, and pretty much I'm there all the time.
Right.
So this is like a great adventure out into the world.
Right. I know.
There are other people out here doing other things like Tai Chi and picnics. And
I know there's people literally rolling around doing somersaults of some sort.
Yeah.
Just saw a guy do a somersault. I'm like, you go, guy. I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's people doing Tai Chi over there. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's I don't think I've ever been to this park in the 4 years I lived in Santa Fe. I'm pretty sure I didn't come here, but that's not surprising, really. I don't think I did much of it.
You didn't go a lot of places.
No, you would know.
Home and work.
Yeah, that was life. Mm-hmm. That's why I joke sometimes with people during COVID. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't so hard for me because my life didn't substantially change.
No, mine just got better and I didn't have to defend it any longer.
Right. I'm like, welcome to my world, y'all. I've been living like this for years. People are like, what? I'm like, no, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I found COVID really validated a lot of my experience by making what I always thought I wanted to do, being what I had to do. And I found that, what a gift that was, because I might not have prioritized it otherwise.
What, like the staying at home, being
like
quiet?
Meditating.
Oh, meditating.
Oh, yeah. My meditation practice became real and became essential and became the thing that made it all good. And I thought, really? I don't have any excuse now.
Oh.
I have all this time to be by myself and to fill it how I want to. And how I decided I wanted to fill it was by living. I was grateful to be in a place where when we were confined and not supposed to be out in public, we're surrounded by nature that's no more than 15 minutes away and no people in it, or very few. So I could get out into why I'm here, which is I love northern New Mexico for the nature.
Right.
Not so much for the art or the people or that's all kind of fun, but it's not why.
That's not why you're here. Interesting. Okay.
I'm here because this landscape and the way the light plays on the landscape has done something for my soul since the time I first experienced it 53 years ago.
Wow.
And I fell in love with it. I'd never been west of the Mississippi. I had no idea. I thought desert. Who would like desert? Ugh.
Right.
I mean, I was all about the Northeast and the Midwest and
Right.
Months of gray sky and calling it blue.
Right.
And
you're like, that was not a blue sky, y'all.
yeah, and I didn't know that. And then I was out here, and I will, as the caveat, I should say that when I arrived here, I was doing copious amounts of LSD.
Right.
Which I continued to do, and I'm sure it enhanced my experience in many ways.
Sure, yes.
But I don't regret any of it, and I thought to myself, if I could find a relationship with another human being that sustained me in the same way this landscape has, I'd be in.
Wow.
But I never have. So my primary relationship is with the land here and how it affects me. And if I just stay in town, I lose track of it a little bit.
Right.
But with COVID, the one place I could go, unencumbered, was into nature.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. I love this. Your primary relationship is with nature.
Yeah.
The nature here specifically and what it does for you.
Yeah.
That's happening. We've got birds chirping, we've got cars driving by, and we've got wind. We're having the full experience. The full Libby experience. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, Libby, it's been 11 years since I've seen you, which is bonkers.
Shocking.
Just bonkers. And when you knew me, I was not a me that, like, was a different me.
Yeah.
Like a different version. Version 0.0 or something.
No, you were a good person then. I learned a lot from you.
Aw.
Yeah, one of the things I learned from you, because we would always, among our little group of friends, if we got together, we would often go out for lunch.
Yeah.
And you never came. And you always said, I'd love to go. And you were so enthusiastic that I believed it. I would love to go, but I have a prior commitment. And I used to think, I know her pretty well, and I think that's bullshit. And I asked you one time, you always say that. What kind of prior commitment is it that you have? And you said, I have a prior commitment to myself.
Oh, yeah, I did say that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I thought, got it, and I'm using that from the rest of my life.
I'm going to take that and run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone gave that to me. They're like, sometimes you just need time to yourself or to sit and meditate or whatever.
Without having to explain to anyone.
Yes.
Because my whole way of being in life was to over-explain everything to everyone to make sure they really understood.
Right.
Where I was coming from and why I was doing what I was doing and why they shouldn't have no opinion about it, basically.
Please keep your opinions to you. One of the reasons I wanted to chat with you is because you went to school in your 70s.
Yes.
Right? Was
Yes.
it 70s or 60s?
No, 70. I was 70 the first year.
Uh-huh.
And when it was age appropriate for me to be in school, I was too busy doing other things.
Right.
That felt much more appropriate and were certainly more fun. So I was doing all that. I was very busy doing that and had no time for that. And really, my experience of school growing up had been very repressive, and I hated it. And I also went to 12 schools in 12 years and always was a new kid after Christmas break.
Oh.
We always moved during Christmas vacation. So, I don't have any childhood friends.
Oh, wow.
None. I mean, I would try to keep relationships going as a kid, but we would write. But after a couple of months, when you're little and young,
Yes.
it just sort of falls off. It's like we have nothing in common anymore. We're all living different lives in different places. So, yes, I didn't have a good relationship with school.
Right.
And I had no interest. And my eldest son died very unexpectedly, in the sense that it was sudden. Not unexpected in the sense that there were not reasons why that might happen.
Right.
There were. But after that, I just sort of sat around. That's how I dealt with my grief. I didn't really grieve the way everyone else in my family was grieving, and I didn't really feel I had the right to.
Oh, interesting. Why, how come you didn't think
Oh,
that?
because my other children were so devastated by his death for all of their own reasons that I felt that I had to hold it together for them.
Oh, right.
And so it wasn't that I didn't feel it, but it was a little bit like being in a plexiglass box. And so I could see what was going on and I could hear what was going on, but I couldn't really touch what was going on. And I certainly couldn't touch what was going on inside of me. But people kept saying, because they were concerned about me being so depressed, maybe I should just take a class at the community college, just any kind of class. It didn't matter what. It didn't have to be academic. And I should just go check it out. And I was hearing this from a variety of people, most of which I thought to myself, well, why don't you all just mind your own business? Because no.
Right.
And once I even drove out past the community college and thought to myself, yeah, no. And turned around and came home and thought, yeah, that's not for me. I had mentioned this to a friend who had suggested that I might put it into my prayer and meditation, since I had so much resistance to it that I didn't really understand, other than I just didn't like it. To say, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, is there some way it could be made really clear to me so I'm not second guessing myself?
Oh my God, it's amazing you just said that, because that's something you said to me. You said, Hella, just say this prayer, a version of that, which is, should I be doing something different or doing what I'm doing differently?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now I know where that came from. Aha!
And so I did that and nothing changed. I had no desire to go to the community college, and I basically just sort of put it over there with all the things like grief and disappointment and fear and insecurity and all of that. I put it all in the same, I had a nice closet for that.
Right.
And it was all well labeled and boxed tightly. And I had no problem with it.
Right.
And so one day I woke up, as I did every day, but this time I woke up and the first conscious thought I had as I was sitting up in bed, on the edge of my bed, was, well, you better get in the shower and get going, because you have to go out to the community college and talk to somebody by 9 o'clock. And I thought, well, now wait a minute. This is not what I have in mind. But it is what came out of my mind. So apparently it was in my mind somewhere.
Right.
From some place. Somewhere in the universe had tapped into that prayer I had been doing with my meditation of, if there's something I should do different, tell me what it is, and don't hint.
Right, be very clear.
Be very clear.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you can't get much clearer than that. It was a pretty clear directive. So I got dressed and I went out there and went inside, and they kept asking me, oh, well, how can I help you? And I said, I don't know. And which was unusual, because I know everything, so that was kind of unusual. And then, well, why are you here? I don't know. And well, what is it? What can we help you with? I don't know. And they said, well, I think you should talk to this person who was a student advisor, as it turned out. And I sat down and started talking to her, and the conversation started exactly the same way. And she kept talking to me and talking to me. 6 hours later, I left the community college with a major, financial aid, and a starting date.
You're like, wait, how'd that happen?
I don't know.
How did that happen to me?
It just happened. And I thought, okay, let's see what this is like. Well, it turned out that I really liked it. First of all, I was the oldest person in any class I went to, because I was 70 then. You know, it's like a 2-year, it's a community college, but it's a really good community college, because a lot of people come to Santa Fe to retire who have had very prestigious careers in more prestigious cities with a bigger audience than they have here. And they wind up in retirement saying, oh my God, let me do a class at the community college because I can't just sit home or play golf or read, you know. Let me do this. And they do. And so it's a really fabulous community college in terms of talent. And it's a lot of people, local people from high school who are trying to get 2 years under their belt so that they can then maybe transfer to another state school. There's a few people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, always one or two, but only one or two, and nobody that I met in their 70s. And I thought, well, this is fun. I kind of like it. I kind of like being the only. And because they were studying things that I had lived through.
Oh, wow. Like history things.
Yeah, like history.
Right. You're like, yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Wow. What was that like?
It was great fun because you don't go around telling everybody that you meet. Well, in the 60s, I was doing this, and this, and I knew this person and that person, and I didn't like that person. I liked this person, and I had this encounter or that encounter. And I was at the March on Washington, and I did do all of that, and I was fighting for civil rights in New York City, of all places, and doing things like that, that in retrospect sound, much more important than they seemed at the time. At the time, they were just what was happening.
Right, it was just life happening.
Yeah.
And you were showing up for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, oh, this is now in the history books?
And a lot of it is.
Right.
And a lot of the people are. A lot of those people that were young kids when I was a young kid, like in 21, 22, 25, in that area. You know, they're legends now.
Right.
They weren't legends then, they were just jerks. You know, I mean, seriously.
Right, you're like, I didn't like that guy or that gal or whatever.
Yeah, or I loved them, and even that didn't make any difference either.
Right,
Because, you know, I was just there. I wasn't important to them. I mean, they might have said hi to me or something, but, you know, it's not like we had tight friendship. So there was all this happening with the different classes, and not with every class, but with a lot of them. Certainly any psychology, all of the psychology classes that I wound up taking, which I took for years, they would say, well, you know, we're going to read this book, and then you're going to try to answer these questions. And I thought, oh, I've lived that. Believe me, I have the answer to that one. Not necessarily the right answer, but I know what I did.
Right.
And anything you say in here that this is what unhealthy people do, I did that. And
you're like, I'm textbook.
Yeah, I got you. But I did have a professor at the community college in sociology who said to me, took me aside and said, you know, Libby, most of these kids are 18. And when I pose questions, I know you were there and I know you have an answer. Could you just not raise your hand every time? And I thought, oh yeah, because I know. And I want to share that I know. And the kids were great about it. They would ask me questions a lot. And it was fun. So anyway, that was a 2-year program that I worked for 4 years. And part of it was my major was going to be creative writing, which I had never done. Because as I was told growing up, we're not creative people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was the message you got.
No, it was very direct.
Oh, right. It was a clear statement. It wasn't like implied.
No, it wasn't implied. It was said, you know, well, don't even bother trying that because we're not creative people. So I started doing these creative writing classes. I had to wait a year to do it because I had certain preliminary things I had to get out of the way. And the more I did, the more I loved it, which is what happened. So I got in this writing class with Miriam Sagan, who is certainly a very well-known author locally, but I think, is known beyond Santa Fe for sure, and is the author of many books and articles and a brilliant teacher. I was selected her to be the person I worked with out of, do you want this class or that class? Because my son, the one who had died, had said to me, you should take a class with Miriam Sagan, you would really like her. And that was before he died.
Wow.
Because he was doing slam poetry and he had an English degree and he had done a number of things already. I've eventually, many years later, had said to her that was why I wound up in her class, was because he kept encouraging me that I should do writing and that I should do it with her to start, because it would be a really good fit. And she said, I don't know your son. And she didn't. She had never taught him. She had never taught in any of the schools that he had attended. I don't know why he thought that, and I don't know why it was her. Because as far as we were able to define between the two of us, there was no reason that he should have known anything about her.
Wow. That's really amazing.
Isn't it?
I'm like, my brain's having, I'm computing that. Like, what an incredible gift.
It was.
And I'm also hearing, like his passing precipitated this grief process of, I'm sitting in my plexiglass box. This voice, I'm praying and meditating like, okay, if I'm supposed to do something different, be very specific. It's very specific. And then in the process of that, it's like he brought you to the school thing, and then even within that, he brought you to the teacher that for you.
The teacher for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who I worked with for then. I did every class she taught. So I was at the community college for 4 years. So in 2-year college, you can work it.
Right.
And I did. And because I didn't ever want to leave. I just thought, I just love this place. I love my cohort, the students I sit with. I, at that time, had an old PC, and I've been hearing all about Apple. So I signed up for a class, Introduction to Apple Computers. I didn't even know how to turn it on, seriously. So I looked around the room and I thought, okay, there's a few people in here who are older, who clearly need new skills. But I saw a bunch of teenagers who were doing 3D stuff on their computer. And they were 18, 19 years old, covered with tattoos and body piercings of all kinds of weirdness. And I thought, well, they know what they're doing. So I always sat next to them. And I was so over my head. I mean, even the teacher said that. He said, I really enjoy having you here, but you don't have any idea what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
And I thought, see, you're so true. That's so true.
That's an accurate statement.
I take that very well because I know you're right. But I would say to these kids, how did you do that? And they would show me. And that's how I learned.
Wow. I'm also hearing in that this intergenerational experience. Do you feel that kept you? I mean, you've always registered as very youthful to me, and I love this. Like you're like you're like deliberately sitting with the youngest of the people in this classroom.
That nobody wanted to sit with because they looked a little freaky, quite frankly.
Right.
A lot of them, not all of them, but they were just all so lovely and so openly welcoming, and some of the older students in their mid-years, middle age, were so self-conscious about being an old student. And they would never ask the kids for anything because that would just make them look stupid. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't get it because, like you said, I was presented very youthful, But that was kind of a mixed bag. I mean, I still present youthful. I still get told that by people. Oh my God, I had no idea you were that old. And, you know,
Like, thanks, I think.
I think that, okay. But it was what, but it's also because I was emotionally immature as well. So that was a big piece of that youthfulness, which in many ways was a gift. There are people who would dispute that, but for me, it wound up being a gift over time.
Right.
And so I was talking to Miriam, and she said, you know, if you can get financial aid, why don't you just keep going in school? We have an agreement with UNM, University of New Mexico, and a lot of what you've done here will transfer. And even though it was done here, I thought, okay. So I made the phone calls, because I've always been one of these people, being poor had part of it, and being a hippie had another part of it, which was, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So, you know, yeah, it can be awkward to ask for something like financial aid or help with something, but if you do, I mean, it just worked out so well over time. I had so many more positive experiences than negative ones that I thought, okay, I'll just start cold calling, you know, calling these people. And I wound up, you know, getting accepted immediately. And they waived all the fees because I asked them if they would, and they did. And I got the financial aid I needed to go to school, and I needed to get my bachelor's degree, I needed 120 some credits. They transferred 88 credits from the community college.
Wow.
So I needed it turned out I needed 24 credits or something like that.
Right.
So I figured, I'll do that in a year and a half. And I was doing just writing classes again. Fiction, poetry, anything, memoir, all of it. Because I just thought, I have no confidence as a writer, yet I'm in some ways fearless in the sense that I will just put it out there. But, you know, God help the person who offered constructive criticism, because I never took it well. I always was like, F you, you know, and it would take me sometimes years before I would go back and look at the constructive criticism, which wasn't negative, was very useful. And I found it useful, but I didn't find it useful in the moment ever. That was part of my immature emotional response.
Your youthfulness.
Yes. And so I was one semester away from graduating from UNM with a bachelor's degree in university studies, which is a degree that's offered to the older student, which basically is, what do you want to study?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there are certain things they wanted you to study, but then I just kept looking at what was offered, and I took things like race and gender, feminism, intersectional feminism, and what does that mean, and representation, and all this kind of stuff, you know, and psychology up through the 5th level. And I was just curious. And I found for me, that was my gift. I was really curious. And so I just kept going for more things like, this is really, I don't know anything about this. And I think I do, because I always think I know everything. So I do have that kind of ego. And, you know, I didn't know everything, and it was really fun to see how much I was learning about stuff I thought I knew about. And so I'm a semester away from graduating, and I was going in for a planned surgery to correct a uterine prolapse, which women of a certain age are familiar with, vaginal prolapse. And they decided to do a biopsy before we decided what method we would use for this, to correct this problem. And it came back positive for uterine cancer. And I thought, oh, well, that was unexpected.
Right. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. But I also have a very dark sense of humor. So, even while I was being admitted to the cancer center, and they came out with this really beautiful, well-done tote bag, and it was beautiful. I still have it. I said, "What's this for?" Welcome to the cancer center, and here's a toaster, or
Right. Here's your souvenir.
Here's your tote bag.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I said, "What is this for?" And she said, "Oh, it's for your medical records." And I thought, oh my goodness. Well, that particular tote bag we're now 10 years later, is spewing things because it's so full of my medical records.
Right.
So it turns out I had a very good medical history, but while I was in the hospital after this surgery, which was successful, no chemo, no radiation, they got everything. They took everything they could, some of which didn't work well. And I have permanent problems as a result of what was taken or not taken or how it was taken.
Oh, right.
Such as no lymph nodes below the waist.
Oh, wow.
And as a result of having a lot of trouble getting, as they said, slippery pearls. Little lymph nodes are like a string of pearls in your body, but they're slippery. And they spent a lot of time trying to get, especially the ones on the right, and they missed a little bit, and that turned into sepsis. And I wound up having an abdominal drain for 2 or 3 months, which I had to measure the poison being excreted from my internal body once a day and report it.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was more than I bargained for.
Right. You were like, this was not part of the plan.
Yeah, so I had to call all my professors and say, okay, this is what's happening in my life. I'm not going to be able to complete the work in the time required. They all gave me incomplete so that I could go back the next semester and do it with them and finish the work. So that made it very easy. What was interesting for me in terms of learning about myself and being old is I think I was 74. Yeah, I was 74. And so it was 2015. And these doctors, all of whom could have been my grandchildren, they were that young, which was fine up to a point. But with the men, it made me crazy because they would say things like, well, you've had a good run.
What?
That's what I said. Or, well, I mean, what difference does it make to you whether, you have to do this or do that for the rest of your life? Weren't you just sitting home watching TV anyway? Ooh. I said, well, I have to tell you that before I was here, like last week, I was across the street working on my degree, getting ready to graduate. So no, I wasn't sitting home watching TV. Thank you very much. Been there, done that, but no, I wasn't doing it this time.
Right.
And
wow.
So I told the doctor, you just have to, you're a really nice guy and I like you, but I don't like this. And this is why I don't like it. And I will tell you that I don't think I'm unusual here. I'm not like that rare old woman who has something going on and the others don't. It's not true.
Wow. I love this. So, look, even in the middle of all of that, like you're dealing with your own health issues, you're sidetracked now with your studies, and yet you're advocating not only for you, but also on behalf of other women who are in their 70s, 80s, or above who get dismissed just because of the number in front of, their age number.
Every single interaction I had, male or female, with a medical professional in the last 10 years until I've put a stop to it, which I have in many different cases, begins with the phrase, well, at your age.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, this is not how we start. We're going to finish right here.
Right. We're going to back up again and we're going to start over, and we're not doing that at your age business.
Yeah, because I'll tell you something. I'm just at my age. It's something for you because you're nowhere near my age and you're looking at it going, whoa, at that age. Well, I get it, but I'm not that person.
Right.
I've been that person. I've looked at old people and said that too. I used to even yell at old people on the road when I was driving, saying, you better move that car a little bit faster or you're going to get a fanny full of fender. That was my attitude.
A fanny full of fender? Oh my God, I love that.
You know, because people are slow when they're old.
Right.
Well, I'm now one of those old slow people, or slow old people, one of them, something like that. And I can see people get irritated with me on the road even. You know, I think, well, I'm not on my phone. So I have that going for me.
Right? You're like, listen, I got one out of the two things. I'm slow, but I'm not on my phone.
I'm not on my phone.
Because there's people who are slow and on their phone.
Yeah.
Or they're slow because they're on their phone.
Yeah,
Either way. Mm-hmm.
A lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, these things, this was all part of a personal evolution experience. You know, I was in the hospital, then I was out of the hospital, then I was back in the hospital. Then I was out of the hospital, and then I was back in the hospital. And some of it was pretty sketchy, right to the edge. And, you know, I just thought, wow, okay. I guess I have other things to do. And so I got that degree, and that was really fun. And I thought, oh my God, you finished college at 75.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Yeah, rock star.
Yeah. And then Miriam again said, why don't you try to go to grad school?
I love this woman. She's just like, no, keep going, lady. Keep going. That's amazing.
And I thought to myself, oh, I don't think so. I mean, that sounded scary. That sounded like people know what they're doing. And I didn't feel I knew what I was doing. I was just doing it, but I didn't feel like I knew a lot. And I did some things I now regret, such as I talked my way out of having to do certain classes that were required of people like myself, because I said my life experience transcended those classes and I shouldn't have to do them. And I didn't. And I regretted it because there was a lot of information I didn't have that I needed.
Oh, interesting. It builds on top of itself, and you were missing these
I was
bits and
missing all
pieces.
those steps.
Wow, interesting.
So,
I hear in there like, okay, shortcuts don't really work.
No, but they sure seem like they're going to.
They seem like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I was very vocal in advocating for myself not to have to do these certain essay type classes. That once I started doing my own writing, oh my God, everything that I had to change was stuff I would have learned there. So it wound up taking me twice as long. And I had also been a student when I was a student, like a kid, who had a photographic memory, never had to study. I just read it over and I was good, you know? And I was very ADD, but we didn't know that. That was not a term when I was growing up. It hadn't been invented yet. Well, that gift had expired by the time I got to grade school, or grad school.
The photographic memory had vanished.
Oh, long before.
Right.
Now, at the community college and at UNM, the kinds of classes I was taking, which were largely creative writing classes, pretty much there was no wrong way of doing it. I might have thought so, but there really wasn't. I mean, whatever I did was fine. So I didn't have to memorize anything. And I couldn't. There were tricks I used to memorize things, like reading something that I had to speak 37 times out loud in my home, so that when I got up in front of the class, I could just do it. And whatever I read, I couldn't remember what I'd read the page before. So everything I read, and I had to read a minimum of 5 to 6 books a month, usually more.
Whoa.
Plus I had to turn in a certain amount of writing every month, several hundred pages. And I had to read everything 2 and 3 times and took copious notes because I couldn't remember anything. Now I would get it, but I had to work hard at it. And I wasn't prepared for that.
Right. You're like, oh, did not see that coming.
No. Because the community college had been pretty easy, really. Mainly
Right.
because I was so much older than everyone else that, I mean, I had been there. So I could say, oh, you know, when that happened, you know, or and I was already, through my own children, involved in other things that people had only heard about, but because my children were old enough to be their parents, that, you know, it was a whole generation that I was familiar with that they were just kind of looking at going,
Yeah, I'm really struck by this intergenerational thing, like how important that is, because we're teaching each other back and forth. You know, like both older and younger, and I'm really grateful. I've been very fortunate to know a lot of amazing women who are 10, 15, 20, 30 years older than I am. And I have the benefit of having, I don't know as many, but having friends or knowing teenagers, spending time with them. Like sometimes I'm like, I am like you. We are the same age, apparently. So, but that, like, it's like so great because I'm like, oh, I can kind of keep in touch with like what's happening now and just listen. I don't try to pretend like I'm participating in it, but I can listen and understand a little bit better where they're coming from. Because I'm like, I don't know what this is. Didn't grow up like that. And then having people to look up to who are like you, I'm telling you, was an inspiration to be like, right, like you can do anything at any time. Like that thing, like it's just a number.
it is just a number at that point.
Yeah, like it doesn't preclude me from being able to do. And I love that thing, like, you know, yeah, at my age, whatever the hell, dude, like I'm just doing. It's not about at my age.
Or I had a friend, I had to say something to him, a young man, who grew up with my boys. And so, you know, he's a kid to me, although he's probably 60 now. You know, always wishes me happy birthday, young lady, on my birthday. And I said, I have to tell you something, that if you've lived as long as I have, being called young lady is not a compliment.
Wow, interesting.
It's like, I'm sorry, I am not a young lady. I am a very awake, involved old lady.
Like you want to own the years you have.
Yeah, I'd like to be given credit for that.
Right.
Not for still being emotionally mature.
Like, please, let's not highlight that part, okay?
Yeah.
Give me credit for the numbers of years I've been here doing this and in being participatory. Yeah.
Yeah, and that maybe I've learned something along the way. And grad school loomed, and I applied to, I started looking, I Googled it, you know, for writers, and found 3 schools that I thought really good. Got accepted to all of them. But none of them could offer me the financial aid package that I needed in order to go there, because it had to be a job. I had to get paid via student loans as if I was doing a regular job. And they all had gifts that they would give, you know, scholarship gifts or small loans, but never enough to cover the package. So I was talking about this I had a graduation party from UNM, and there was this young woman that I knew peripherally more than anything, who was there and said, oh, did you apply to Pacific Lutheran University? And I said, no, I've never heard of it, which I never had. And she said, well, I'm getting my master's degree there right now in creative writing. And I thought, and she said, yeah, Google them. So I did, and I thought, oh, they have a very small, really good program. And I like small classes. Like the cohorts were anywhere from 8 to 15. So I cold called them. She gave me the number, I looked them up, and I thought, well, this was in May, I had just graduated. Their summer session started June 1st. And then there's a residency requirement, but that was going to be in August. And I thought, well, they already said that they closed all admissions like 8 months earlier. So I called and I talked to them and I said, okay, here's my deal. I was thinking about applying for next year, but I really liked what y'all had to say about yourselves online, because there was like interviews that you with different the head of, and I said, I was really taken with the way you talked about yourselves, and I thought, I would really like to talk to these people. And the woman said, I'm going to let you talk to the director. And she did, and he put him on. And he said, well, you are months past the deadline. We can waive all the fees for applying, but if you can get me 3 pieces of your writing and a personal statement and an essay about some other writer that you're a fan of, basically, and you can get it to me within 2 weeks, we can see about you coming in this summer. And I thought to myself, OMG,
Wow.
where do I start? And so I looked through it and I thought, well, I've had things published. And I thought, well, let's take one of those pieces. And then, and the one that everybody is always after me to revise, but who say it's the most powerful piece I've written, is about an abortion I had in 1963, 62, 63, yeah, somewhere in there. And nearly died from an illegal abortion.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's a whole other story, but that was the story I'd written. And I submitted that along with a couple of pieces about taking care of my mother in the last 4 years of her life, which I never anticipated. And then a couple of poetry pieces. And I got a hand-typed, but very personal letter. I got a form letter from the other 3 universities that I applied to, telling me how grateful I should be that I had been accepted, because it was a very hard program to get into, and I was like, oh, thank you. It's really nice. And your number is, and I had a student number. This one I got, Dearest Libby, this reading what you sent me, and went and itemized all of the stuff that what he liked about my writing, what he thought where I should put my focus. I should put my focus on creative nonfiction, memoir, and forget about poetry for now. He's a poet, so that was part of it.
Basically, like, listen, I do this.
Yeah.
I can see for you, right? That's kind of great, though. We need
amazing.
people like that to feedback in that way.
Well, and I couldn't believe it. I still have the letter because I thought, nobody believes that a university is going to send you this kind of letter, admission to their grad school program. And he said, so you'll start July 1st and you'll be here in August. And I thought, okay, well, I'm now 3 months out of the hospital, still dealing with, but I don't want to tell, I was afraid they wouldn't take me if they thought I was sick. So I wouldn't tell them any of the stuff I was dealing with, just like I'm cancer-free. Not going to tell you about everything else I have to put up with. But of course, that was a construct in my own mind, a limitation I had imposed on myself, that if I was sick, they wouldn't want me, which was not true. There's a lot of sick people that were there.
You're like, actually, I'm surrounded by not well people. Yeah.
And people with terminal illnesses.
Right.
And
Wow.
Stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. And going to grad school. That's fantastic.
It was.
Wow.
And so, quite a fluke by somebody saying, have you checked here? And then I said, well, the only drawback I have right now is, can you get me enough money for me to be able to come? Because it's pricey. It's like $35,000 a year for 2 weeks of residency and mentoring with an accomplished author and professor that you do everything basically online. And I'm like, okay. And I had all that in place like 2 days after I talked to him, because he said, call this person, she'll take care of you. And she did. She got me everything I wanted.
Wow. So I'm just hearing like, ask for what you want, because if you don't, the answer is definitely no. But if you ask, more often than not, the answer will probably be yes, or some solution that you didn't even know, but because you asked, precipitated a solution presenting itself.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so, so I did grad school and then developed a huge, huge complex about being an imposter. Everyone in my cohort had been teaching creative writing or English for at least 20 years.
Okay, so this is actually not, very comforting to me that even then, after all this you've accomplished and pushed through, and being in the hospital and having cancer and surviving cancer, and then having all these ensuing medical issues because of treating the cancer, and having lived a long life and being in your mid-70s, and yet and getting graduating college and getting accepted into a hard, difficult graduate program, and yet still having the imposter syndrome.
Oh, it kicked in full tilt. I don't think I had it before that. I was kind of like, I'm like a wonderkind is how I felt, like everything I do turns to gold. That's how it felt. I thought, I'm just doing stuff and people are loving it. Wow, lucky me. And then I would say, I don't care about being on Oprah's Book of the Month Club. And then, I had to give that up. But it turned out that was a lie I told myself for a number of years. That I didn't want that until COVID hit. And then I realized, oh yeah, you really do want that. And you don't think you're gonna get it. So, and I even said to the director, he said, well, are you happy here? And I said, this has been the most amazing experience. But I keep waiting, like they do at the Apollo when there's an act on the stage that nobody wants. Somebody comes out with a hook and pulls them off. And that's part of their routine. I said, I keep waiting for that to happen here. These people who have so much more literary experience and so much more experience writing, teaching writing, understanding all these different forms. You keep talking about all these different forms and I have no idea what y'all are talking about. None. And I'm here because you felt sorry for me. And he laughed and he went, Libby, we don't give pity scholarships. And I had gotten several. And he said, and I want you to look around at the cohort you're here, that you're with, that you think you can't measure up to. You are part of this cohort. You're here.
Right. It's like, that reminds me, like recently, like I had this thought of like, if I've been invited to the party and I'm at the party, I don't have to earn being at the party. I've been invited in. Why do I get there and feel like I have to earn being there? I got an invite.
Well, and I did recognize a thing about myself, which is, and it was developing, I had it all along, but it was developing then more, which was, if they were going to give me an MFA for Miss Congeniality, I would have won it, hands down. They all loved me. And they all loved me because I was congenial and I was funny and I cussed. I said fuck a lot. And they couldn't believe they were hearing it from somebody who looked like me. Or like one poet who I just greatly admire. And I was intimidated by him, but I was having lunch with some of my friends who are very accomplished poets themselves. And he was their professor. And I wanted to join them. And he said something and I went, well, duh. And it cracked him up that I would even say that or know that expression. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm a winner here at the lunch table.
Right.
But not so much anywhere else. And I struggled with that the whole time I was there.
Wow.
And then when it came time now this year is about thesis. You have to do a thesis that's on craft, and then you have your writing, the memoir. And if it's going to be is it going to be a collection of essays, which is what I opted for, but it wound up just being one long thing. And so my professor said, we're going to call what you do a memoirella.
I love it. That's great. You've developed a new genre. Libby, the pioneer of memoir genres. I love it.
Yeah, because she said it's like a novella, but not really. It's all about your life. You know?
I love it. I love it.
It was fun. And I kept saying, I can't do this. I hate the topic. It sucks. I have no interest in it. I have no interest in researching it. I have no interest in reading these 25 books that I'm supposed to read so that I have something to say about it.
Right, right.
And footnote and do all this stuff I don't know how to do because I talked myself out of those classes.
Right, oh, right.
And I just kept stalling and not doing the work. And finally I said to the woman I was working with, the professor I was working with, I said, am I the worst grad student you've ever had in terms of delay and diffuse and deny? And she goes, no, but I wouldn't train for it either. You're not the worst, but you're in the running.
You're close.
Yeah. And so, and then she said, you know, I was going to retire this year, but I told them I can't because I have to be there to see you graduate.
Aww. Wow.
And I was like, oh, no pressure.
Right. Shit, I got to get on the stick.
I got to do this now.
Right.
And I'm thinking, and I can't do it like these other people do it. And she said, no, you can't.
Right.
You can only do it like you do it.
Ooh. See, that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
You can only do it how you do it.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter. I mean, people will like it or they won't like it. That's you have no control over that, really. You can only do what you do. And the people who can hear your voice will hear it. And the people who can't won't. They'll just go, no. And I find that with writers too, that when I'm reading someone's #1 bestseller, I'm sometimes thinking to myself, I think this book sucks. And I'm thinking, and everybody just loves it. Well, it's because it's a genre I don't like. And I have prejudice genres that, you know, there are things I don't like. Mainly because I don't know why, but it irritates me. Magical realism is not my thing. I just find it annoying. I like realism, but magical realism where, you know, it's 100 Years of Solitude, the greatest book ever written, not for me. I thought it was the longest book I ever read, and I don't think I ever really actually finished it. And so there was a lot of that kind of thing going on too. But I did find writers that I had never heard of that I thought were magnificent. And I thought, oh my God, how this person can do these things it's incredible. And so I wound up being able to do the thesis, in other words, on craft, because I only talked about the people whose craft spoke to me. And I saw the need for it. I saw that I didn't have that.
I love this. So it's a both and situation is what I'm hearing. You can only do what you can do the way you do it. And similarly, you are then attracted to and can take in and learn from and get excited about the things that speak to you, not the things that you think should speak to you. So it's very much about really trusting yourself, knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and just going with that.
And that is such a you're absolutely right. And that's been the process, because I graduated, I got my MFA. It was great. I did it. I actually produced those things. I didn't want anybody to read it or critique it. I wouldn't let anybody see it for a long time. And then I finally gave it to my daughter, who's a really good editor, as it turns out. She said, if you finish this and you never want to write again, and you never want to touch it again, you don't have to. There's nothing that says that now you have to. And I thought, well, no one has to say that because I'm saying that. But then I graduated and I was kind of processing it, is the word we love to use. It was all in process.
Right.
And COVID hit. Like 2 months later. At first I didn't take it seriously. I thought it's just a flu, come on. And then it became, no, it's not just the flu. It's a big deal. And people are dropping like flies. And there isn't any way to correct it. And I thought, okay. And at this time I'm neighboring with my daughter from her neighbor and her infant son, who was 2 at this point, and unable to be vaccinated. So what do we do? How do we do that? How do you live with a toddler all the time with an elderly person who's immunocompromised on several fronts? So how do we do that and have a life?
Wow. Well, we're going to have to do a follow-up on that.
That's another story.
Yeah, but is that when, because this brings us full circle actually quite perfectly to the beginning, which is that during that time then that you really got into your meditation.
And learning, yes, into the meditation was the big thing. I didn't write a thing. I took a lot of notes into my phone. I talked to my phone a lot.
Oh, wow.
And I still have it. But I did not, I was still embarrassed to call myself a writer out loud, only in my own head, but not in front of anyone. And people say, what do you do? Nothing, I'm retired. And now I will say I'm a writer. Oh, what have you written? I'm like, oh, nothing you've read. That's all I can say, It's true. And so, that 5 years was such a period, and I also was doing trauma work therapy for 3 of those years. So there was a lot of work going on, internal work. And I thought, oh, I'll never write again. I'm done. I've finished it. That chapter's closed. And now I'm starting to write again.
Oh, I love this.
And my little grandson, who was a toddler, who is now almost 9, yesterday was rummaging around in my house and came out with this binder and said, I just found a book of stuff you wrote. I thought, I don't even know what it is. And it was all fiction. So now he calls me, well, I want it to write a book with you, Nana. And since you're the expert.
Oh, I love that.
I want to know, how do we write this essay?
This is beautiful. So I'm hearing like the full circle, which is, I think, a beautiful place for us to end. But because I'm like, wow, like we went from praying and meditating, really learning, digging into that because of COVID, this whole journey of like finally being like, I am a writer, and now literally passing it on as you bring it back into your life post-COVID and all of that journey of healing during that time, to now pass that on to the not just the next generation, the generation behind that. Wow.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And the beauty I see with my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, because I have 2 great-grandchildren, is that it's never too late. It's easier to do it if you do it when you're supposed to, quote unquote, because you don't have usually a partner, a spouse, a job that demands a lot of you, and a mortgage. You don't have all those things. So it's easier to just do school. But if you're somebody who doesn't just do school, and I had a woman come up to me who said, I'm 70 and you're so inspiring to me, and I really have always dreamt of going back to school and getting some kind of theology degree that she wanted. And she said, but if I do that, that's 4 or 5 years out of my life, and I'll be 75 when I'm done. And I just looked at her and I said, well, if you don't do it, how old will you be in 5 years? You're still going to be 75.
Wow. Only you will have done the thing.
You only will have done the thing.
Wow.
It
That's
doesn't
amazing.
really matter whether you have a congregation or not.
Right.
If this is a dream you have that you should do, then you should do it.
Right. Right. It's never too early and it's never too late.
Right.
Just do the thing. Do the dream.
Do your dream, and trust the process, because the process. I'm very goal oriented, and the goal is not the goal.
No, it's not. You're
The
right.
goal is the process. And if I can enjoy the process, then it's all a success.
Right. Then I'm good. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the perfect place to stop.
Yeah.
It's like the goal is the process and the process is the success. Wow.
If you can enjoy the process, you're golden.
Right. You've succeeded.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you.
this. Thank you for doing this with me in your happy place in the
Yeah.
park.
Yeah.
I mean, what a delight.
Yes.
I just love it. I mean, it's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I've loved it too.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And yeah, it's it's been a long. We were very connected for a while.
Yes.
And then not at all,
Yes.
or very peripherally.
Yes.
And so this is like such a nice full circle of its own.
Yes.
You know.
It is. This whole thing has been a full circle.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do too.
Oh, well,
Great.
thank you. I love you, Libby.
I love you too. And it's really lovely to share this with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye. Thank you for listening to The Stories That Sparkle, a space I created for women to share in their own voices the intricacies of their stories. And another huge, ginormous, just mega thank you to Libby. What a hoot she is. I just love that woman, and so glad we got to do this and sit together and record in her happy place outside in nature. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I did a pretty decent job, I think, of mitigating the sound effects in the background. So a little bit of a different vibes this time around. But the one thing that I really wanted to call out that I'm so grateful to Libby for saying in this conversation, so much so that when I was editing it, I had to write it down so I wouldn't forget and could remind myself on the regular, because I know I need to be reminded of this constantly, which is the goal is not the goal. The goal is the process. And if I can enjoy the process, then it's all a success. What? Mind blown situation. So thank you, Libby, for that nugget of wisdom. I super love you. And if you're enjoying the Stories That Sparkle, y'all, please do me a small favor. Pass it on to 2 friends, just 2, and invite them to listen, download, subscribe, follow, rate, review, all the things. And of course, if you have a story you want to share or a topic you would like me to cover in an episode of the podcast, please drop me a line to hellarader@substack.com, because together we bring light into dark places.